the goal of today is simple. Like, we have short time. Now we have even a shorter time. The view I have is like this. I will tell you a little bit why we do the way we do, especially on Twitter. And then I will explain why it logically, my main multiplier, the most important thing I think for Alephium, is how projects that are building now on Alephium start thinking about their own marketing. Because their marketing is our marketing, right? So the idea of the workshop today is I explain to you a little bit how we think and why we do what we do. So, and I will get a little bit in the details. And then we'll make groups around some of the projects that are here and that want to brainstorm. And I will give you like 3 little tasks to work on, and then we'll do a quick feedback on that, if that's okay for you guys. Yeah. So I came into, okay, very short introduction on me. I'm Vlad, I'm a boomer, I'm almost 40, I'm 40 actually. I learned advertising in the old world, like before the internet. Basically, we had internet, but we didn't use it to consume media or whatever. So my teachers had no idea. I had a typography professor that had actually been bankrupt by the arrival of the Mac, right? That kind of stuff. But I'm sorry to tell you that the basics of advertising have not changed, right? The basic idea that you need to have a story and to know how to tell it and where to tell it and to whom is as important as ever. It's even worse today because you have to talk every day. At the time, my first job at Leo Burnett, where we were doing advertising for Fiat or Disney or whatever, job was easy, right? You were very well paid. I mean, not me because I was an intern, but all the other guys. And you did 2 campaigns per year, right? With big branding like this. Everybody saw it because there was only one way to walk in the streets, right? And then, boom, you're paid, you can go home, rest, and do parties, right? This is not like this today. Today, advertising is so pervasive, and the way media works is by a feed, so it means it's going down and it's mixed in your content. So it means if you want to be seen, if you want to be heard, if you want your message to come across to you, you have to emit a message constantly. So in essence, what does that mean for every project? It means for us, but it also works for some individuals. You have to become a media. And a media is hard. And a media, most people don't want to be a media, right? Like, you don't know what it is, you don't want the work, right? But the media basically is something pretty simple if you think about it. You have to know what you're talking about, at what frequency you're talking about, and to whom you're talking about. And once those things are clear, everything gets easier, right? Because then you have the tools, and then you can create a habit, and then it takes less time for you to work on this. And to get to that, you have to think how you want to be perceived. Like, who are you? Like, who Alephium is? Alephium is a layer 1. Yes, there's a ton of layer 1s, right? Like, what is a layer 1? A layer 1 is an infrastructure. Like, usually most people don't know, like, the name of the highway they're running on, right? They don't care, actually. What's important is where they're going and where they're going to eat and where they're going to the park. And projects on Alephium are a little bit this, right? The restaurants, the destinations, the touristic places. And we are more or less the channel by which people can use those things and go to these places, and the reason why they're going to fill our shards, and we're going to need more shards on Sunday, right? Yes. Thank you, Elias. PG-13, please. PG-13, okay, okay. So so when I came in 2021, at the end of the year, the project was like already well worked on for a couple of years, maybe a little bit more. But to say it was quite techy is probably an understatement. And like the first audience when Cheng started was basically a bunch of technologists, right? Like, because only a few people like this that were reached through word of mouth, GitHub, some conferences, and like the Ethereum forum could actually understand the idea, the value proposition, etc. The early community which started on Discord, basically started out of that. And for a while, it was more about what's gonna come, right? The message was like it didn't exist yet; it was being developed, and it started like this. Then, little by little, got closer to mainnet. You need testers for testnet. Then got to mainnet. Then started attracting attention, and then you start to exist in an ecosystem, right? There's competitors, which are not necessarily competitors, but similars, like Ergo. Then you have the proof of work space, right? You have the UTXO space, and we belong to all those spaces at the same time. So you start aggregating people from here and from there, right? So you have to start feeding the messages on these things, like, okay, what is proof of less work? How does it work? Why is it interesting for the proof of work space, right? Why are we UTXO? And what brand of UTXO are we? So the first speech and the first kind of message was about technology, right? But if you listen to Cheng, you have to have a certain level to actually understand what he means. So the first job was actually to take the tech and to try to make it palatable to more people. So the first audience, who it is? The first audience is the people that are in the room today, right? Builders, people who will understand why this tech is the right tech to build their own stuff. So that's why we have, like, for a year mostly talked about the tech, converted the code into something that you could understand why there is value for you to build on. And so that's the first, let's say, message, right? At the same time, how do you want to be perceived? We want to be perceived as a serious bunch of people building a serious infrastructure, right? No nonsense, right? We talk simple, we're not aggressive, we're collaborative, we believe in decentralization, few ideas like this, and these ideas have to be found in every message you emit over time. If you read us for a long time, you know that's what we are about, because you understand it by tidbits here and there, right? You don't need to say the whole thing at once. You cut in small slices, you repeat a lot, and at the end of the day, that's what stays, right? Like when people see us, they know we have wallets, we are easily accessible, we have a focus on UX, right? They know we scale, right? They know we are smart contract capable. And all this comes from various places that we highlight with our communication on Twitter, right? Like, so sometimes it's about an update of the code, sometimes it's a presentation with mode, sometimes it's going to be a post from Cheng, sometimes it's going to be an article we have written. All these feeds into this main narrative, right, of being a media. And so I don't need to explain to you why Twitter is the center of attention today, right? Like everybody is okay on this, right? So basically, our communication is, you have to talk with several stakeholders, right? Like you have the community, and the main hub for this is basically Discord today, because that's the early one, and that's where people can expand and discuss details. You have a communication with a second round of community, which is on Telegram, which is more rapid fire, sometimes a little bit less tech, and with more onboarding of new people. And then you have the outside communication, which is on Twitter mainly. That's where.
Would you put YouTube there with that is like a different than Twitter, but kind of the same?
Which one?
YouTube.
YouTube. It's very different. Like, because first, on YouTube, you have, most people have a consumer attitude, so they go, they consume, and they consume less content because it takes more time to consume video, right? And there are comments, there are interactive features on YouTube, but those interactive features are less the center of the discussion, right? Twitter has made itself to be the global agora of the world today. There's the journalists, there's tech people, there's the marketing people, there's the governments, there's everyone, right? And that's where you can build your own news, right? And that's where you interact. So like, you can't really escape Twitter as a crypto project today, but it wasn't always like this. Like before 2017, it was, I would say, more Reddit. Reddit was a lot like our Bitcoin, our Ethereum, our ETH traders, and all those, our cryptocurrency were like main. I mean, that's where a lot of what's happening. And even before that was the Bitcoin talk forums. But slowly it shifted as the ecosystem shifted and grew, right? Like as we started reaching people who are not tech native, crypto native, like the ecosystem went where the people are, right? Basically. And so Twitter is a bit of a nightmare because it's very addictive and you have a lot of things and you have a lot of unsolicited things and the opinions of people are not always interesting. But at the end of the day, they will read you regularly, right? And for now, you have to post more or less every day. And posting every day is very hard because you have to have something to talk about. You have to have the idea of what you're talking about. You have to know how you're talking about. So I just have a little bit like made some distinctions. So for example, at Alephium, first we talk about tech. So we want to be perceived as a tech shop. We're not like a marketing shop. We're not a VC shop, right? First thing is tech. We talk to everyone. So we make an effort. We don't only do Vitalik huge posts that nobody can understand. We do that a little bit, but we do also things that more people can understand. We do simple threads. We do sometimes long threads, but you will get the gist in the first tweet, always. So you don't even need to go all the way down. We talk simple, so we keep with the ideas of KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. We try not to talk too much, so like most of our posts are short and to the point. There are some projects in the ecosystem who have a very different approach on this. Like it's really a matter of the tone you want to have. Do you want to be worthy? Do you want to not be worthy, right? We think that we value the time of the people, so we try to keep it as short as possible. We are not aggressive, so we don't answer to feuds, right? We don't fuel competition with others, right? We're not like Mert on Solana, who sometimes will just go and grab someone and eat him alive, right? Like we're not engaging like some other projects do, or some of the people associated with projects do. We like to have a very collaborative attitude in general, like good citizen, right? Like, and if we can help, we help. In particular, Mode is very open to interact with everyone, and that's also part of the brand, right? Like Mode on the public side, I'd say. Cheng on the tech side, you can reach him. So we are not high on our own supply. We try also to not overtalk, right? We do not overpromise and deliver. We try to do the opposite in general. Like that's the general attitude. It's not like the American marketing way is often to just go for it and pound it very hard. We try to stay the line, right? We sell ourselves for sure, but we sell ourselves fair, right? And because we think that people perceive that, right? And they understand that. And then you create trust in what you're saying, right? And trust is a long-term asset. And we also, from the beginning, push others to push ourselves, right? Like we always had a speech on community and decentralization. It's not just words, right? Like we have said repeatedly that the team, which is not a team, which is core contributors, will eventually be swallowed by the great wave of decentralization. And we mean it. We're not growing, right? And we have the DAO now that is doing its own thing on its side. And we now have our communication, you may have noticed, that has shifted slowly from, okay, we document the tech a lot of tech, to now we push the projects. We talk about the projects, we make the projects talk, we participate with them in efforts to talk about the project. So we're shifting our efforts slightly from we only talk to builders because we need builders to build, to we still do that, but at the same time, we help projects reach new audiences, right? We help them talk to real people, like normal tech civilians, I'd say, like so people who are interested, but not necessarily tech people. And we don't really have a discussion that is really open with the degens, but we don't hinder the way, right? Like there's no problem. We advertise when we list on a new exchange, you know. But if you want to understand, like at the end of the day, in the beginning, we were the only ones talking, right? So the awareness, the total awareness was what we say, basically. So you have to talk more, you have a small audience, it's hard. Over time, you have more people talking about you, right? So the total awareness is what you talk about and what these people talk about. So, and over time it grows like this. And now we probably reached a point, for example, on strictly numbers terms, where number of tweets by people outside of Alephium is bigger than the number of tweets that we make. And probably the reach and impressions too, right? So we have less and less control on communication also, right? Which is sometimes problematic, and I can give you an example, right? So we talk tech, so we say Rhone, better DevX, mapping, block time reduction, right? The builders, they're like, oh, cool, more tools, and also better tools for the UX for people, right? And then the civilians, they are like, oh, faster transactions. And then the degens are like, oh, 1 block per second, we're gonna beat Caspar, you know? And it comes from the same information. And then people come in because they saw that and they're like, oh, but you're not actually faster than Caspar, right? So, and then it's a problem. So the more we go, the more our work is to provide accurate information in an understandable way. So in a way, it stays the same. To offer the most accurate information in the most timely way to people and to projects and to increase the reach so that the message, even if it gets diluted or changed, stays true and accurate, and that the people that are further down on the line, they get the same and the good impression of the brand that we want to have, which is serious tech people building serious tech with serious values but pragmatism.
Would you advise that when we notice some inconsistencies from what people are sharing on Twitter, that we correct them and say that's not actually accurate? More accurate would be to express it this way.
So like, yes, but that doesn't scale, right? So we can't. So the thing we do is we pound it. We try to pound what we think is accurate, but then other people start correcting them, right? And that's the scalable way, when the community kind of self-heals the problems we have. And sometimes, yes, we push. I have, for example, I manage the Alephium intern also. So I use him sometimes to go, you know, comment on a tweet or like provide a correction that I wouldn't want to do with the main account, right?
No, but now it doesn't work anymore.
What do you mean?
I was like, you just doxed yourself.
No, I assume myself as the intern. We also actually doxed him a long time ago, because in the weekly recap, it's actually a mise en scène, right? Like, but it's a harmless one, where I say the Alephium intern did the recap, but maybe he forgot something. Tell us if he did.
And I mean, the real reason between the beginning of the intern is because I forbade Vlad to put memes in the Twitter content.
Yes.
So we had to find a workaround.
Is there an intern?
Huh?
Is there an intern?
There is an intern. But that's me. No, but that leads to another question. Like, if you communicate on Twitter, you have the voice of the project, right? But like the voice of an infra will be boring at the end of the day. It's a utility. It's like a gas company, right? It can't say edgy things, which is also a reason why she told me, okay, stop with the memes now. So then you have the founder.
Sprinkle them.
Yes, no, you have the founder. The founder, okay, Cheng has he does what he does, right? And then sometimes let's say you can leverage different voices, right? Your communication is not just your own single account. The same way Solana is not just Solana, it's also Toli, it's Mert, it's a few other guys, right? The same way Ethereum is, okay, people just worship Vitalik, but whatever, but then there's other guys, right? Like, at the end of the day, we want that too. Mode is the public face of Alephium. Like, it's another voice, right? Not on Twitter, but you get tagged every time, right? You go on the videos, and right. So at the end of the day, it's a project, right? It's not just one single entity, it's one single people, and it's a decentralized one. The DAO also leverages interesting voices, like the Gazette has become an interesting account. The Gazette can emit messages that we can't, like it does. Like, the Gazette has more opinions than we do, right? We do have opinions, but we just don't necessarily advertise them, right? Like the Gazette can write, has a distance, right? At the end of the day, our communication is all that taken together, and our job is to try to provide accurate information so it goes in the right way. So that's a little bit long, and I think I've taken too much time. I have a small. So if I think I summed up already most of it. But like, if you think like this, it's first you have to think about who your audience is. Who are you talking to? You are talking to financial degens first, probably somehow, but not only, right? Because you always target someone precisely. That's your core target. But your messages will always touch people around. So we call that in traditional advertising that you have a core target and you have like, I don't know how you say in English, but you have side targets, basically secondary targets. So for Alephium, it would be first tech people who are true to crypto's intent, right? And around that, you would have privacy activists can be interested in very open source discourse, right? And then you will have like financial Twitter people because they will be attracted to the scalable solution, right? And you need to define those people because then you know how to feed them the correct messages to grow them and to increase your global audience. And the messages we have, for example, well, I think I already say that, but it's true to the origins of crypto. We talk a lot about decentralization, and it's not just talk. Like the node is small. We do it in everything we do, and you've seen it with Benoit this morning. Technology is a means to an end, even if we value technology. Pragmatism is as important as grand objectives. So we're not selling you the moon, right? We try not to. We're prioritizing. We make a priority of the long term and robustness. So we didn't go to 1 second per block. We went to 16 seconds per block first, right? At least. So we can explain that, right? Like, and there's a coherence with the rest of the discourse. Accessibility is non-negotiable. Like, Maud pesters me sometimes because there's emails I answer too slowly or things like this. She answers to everyone and at undue hours sometimes. And she's accessible, and that's part of the brand. It's very important. The community knows they can access someone. Community knows they can, how do you say, summon Cheng in the developer channel sometimes, or Hongqiao or Michen, and they're going to answer questions. Like I had the discussion with Esther the other day, and he said that was a very important way on his onboarding, right? Like, and I think a lot of people think that is a very big value add. We'll see how it scales over time, but like as long as we can do that, that's a very important part of the image. And it's something that is conscious. And we run on feedback. Like even the road upgrade evolved over time because we listen to the people after the messages we emit. And all this is a collective effort. So, and then, okay, I think we need to go to the workshop part.
You're the last one, so.
But I think people are going to want to eat and go to the pool now. So my idea was the following. We take a few projects that are in the room. So you have time? No, you're not. You don't have time.
Out, actually, my flight is in 1.5 hours.
Okay, so you need to go. But we have Reed, maybe, that wants to work on AstroPro or another project.
Radu went all the way.
Radu, we have links so please, we have Deadware there. So if people can assemble around these projects, does anyone else wants to work on that? On defining the target, the message, and the voice. You guys also from Sesame?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's assemble around those people and start with those questions. Like first, define 3 audiences, your main audiences and 2 secondary audiences, and then define your key messages. So you see how this simple exercise that you could expand on is really the basic building block on which you can build everything else, because it's the beginning of your briefing for branding. Right? If you talk to art creators, you're not going to do the same branding as if you're talking to finance people, right? Like if you're aiming for simplicity, you're not going to go for baroque visuals, right? And it's the same. It will inform you where you talk and how you talk. Like, for example, if you're talking to whales, you will have to have a discussion on Twitter because that's also where they are. But you will probably talk much more cryptic, much less, right? Like you will show your discretion, right? Because it's more of a one-on-one thing. And so you discuss way less openly than essay would, where like your positions may be public and you really need people to pile on, basically. So like really like this exercise is really the basis on which you build, right? And then you have the basic concept, you have enough to do a content calendar, right? None of you wants to become a marketer, right? Or a professional guy doing all day long content, right? So you have to find a strategy to make content regularly, efficiently, right? So the easiest way to do that is to have some kind of you have themes, right? Like, or you have specific milestones. So for example, the milestone thing is the easier thing to implement. Okay, we've done that. We've added that feature. Most of the time, we listen on Slack internally, right? And the devs would say, okay, we've implemented this, or we're doing that. And we're like, okay, first, what it is, what does it mean? And oh, that's an occasion to say something, right? Like, and it reinforces the tech narrative, right? So, for example, structs, like, which is a method, like, is not a very evident thing for most of our audience, or the Lisp thing. Thomas have LSP, how do you say? LSP or Lisp? LSP thing. These are not things that people will understand, but they will understand the vibe. And for us, it's easy to create because we have the source in-house. We have a short discussion. We understand it. We explain it very high level. Okay. LSP is a way to know if your code works and to help you code better. And that's the message that goes across, right? And so all of you in what you're doing, there's occasions to do that. Deadware has posted not enough for my pleasure, right? Like you're one of the biggest DApp on the network, and I would like to push what you're doing, guys, because like, as I said before, now our communication, most of our communication is done by you guys, like by the community and by projects, right? Like, and that symbiotic relationship is really important, right? Because it's important for us because it shows that actually what we've been saying for 2 years, it works. Like people can actually build nice stuff, cool stuff, stuff that people use. So the other day you announced the launch of the creators page, and that was awesome. It was actually nicely done. So it shows that you know how to do that, so you can do more of it. No, but I mean, you don't need to talk all the time, but like you have these easy wins, right? Alf Pro, you add a new function, a new feature, you just talk about it. You know, oh, we've unlocked that page. And then you have to not forget, it's a repetition game. It's a repetition game. You have to say things again and again, and then you stop. You don't do again and again, again, and again, and again, but you have to say things a few times. For example, more often than not, we publish around 4 p.m. because that's when the US starts being awake. And then I will retweet the next morning our own content, right? So that it gives another vertical the chance to see the content again. This is a very low-hanging fruit, right? I just hit retweet. And then you get a bit more people seeing it, right? So the repetition is important. Sometimes we leverage in the weekend old content that we refresh now. Because sometimes like old content can be good, right? Like one day you'll do a post on explaining how LPs work on your pools essay, and that content 6 months later is still relevant.
Yeah, I should also post more, just like that.
Yeah, like the thing is, I want to de-dramatize the act of posting, right? Like it's there's a lot of things you can post. You should post them, and sometimes don't overthink it. Just go for it. If you don't lie, if you don't oversell, if you just say what it is, even if there's a mistake, even people are not happy, you can always assume that content. It's not a problem, right? You can do mistakes. Sometimes I've deleted posts and we've reposted because there was an orthographic mistake or it was the wrong link. It happens. It's not a problem.
Just don't do announcement of the announcement.
Just don't do you can do the announcement of the announcement, but you do it once. You don't do it 6 times. Like when you do ads, you limit the repetition of the ad to like 3 times over like 2 weeks. You don't allow the machine to just show you the same ad over and over again, because then you start hating the brand. right? Like you just need to think like this. So I just want to conclude with a few tips that I wrote just like this. So first, don't overthink it. Just post, and then people will tell you if they like, if they don't like. You will see what you get engagement for, and you will see if that engagement is what you want or not, right? Like if you get engagement you don't want, don't do it. But if you get engagement from the right people, you will see it, you will see and do it. Answer to the comments, because that also gives you it's cold here. It gives you a boost in the Twitter algo. So answer if you can. Be there, like Maud is there. I know it's hard, but like you have to be there, because that's the most important thing. Is we're in a space where people are scared to be scammed all the time, right? They can be scammed by people, they can be scammed by platforms. So the first rule of the game is to be there, because if you're there, it means you're not going away, right? Like that's so. And once some projects in the community, sometimes they stop answering after for a few weeks, and people start asking questions. You know, like so. That's the first thing. Be there. Don't overthink it. Keep it short. Make it simple. It's simpler for you. It's simpler for the people who are reading. Actually, it's hard to make it short, but make it as short as you can. Don't overpromise and undeliver. Be accurate. Like that's the best way to never be taken in default, right? Don't try to wing it. Just like, yeah, I didn't say that, but because someone's gonna find out. Like people, especially in our space, people like to watch the code, ask contrarian questions. So the thing you think is easier to just let it go like this, the people are going to find out, and it's going to end up taking more time for you than to just fucking make it accurate the first time. So that would be a really repetition is good, too much repetition is bad. Be careful who you sleep with. Like who you do partnership with is important. Like if you do 6 partnerships and 4 of them end up being rug pulls, it was not worth it, because you've damaged your image, right? And your image is what you will carry forward for a long time. So be a little bit picky. Choose the people you do things with. That's very important. Think who you're inviting on a Twitter space. Think who you're gonna do a product with or whatever. Play the longer game if you intend to be in the long game, of course. But like, it's hard to earn trust. It's easy to lose it, right? Like these kinds of proverbs, and it's true. Once you lose trust or a good image, it's very hard to regain. You can, but it's hard. Try new things, because then I'm telling you, be lazy, do the easy stuff, but also sometimes change that. Don't stay into that. And don't hesitate. Like, new gen AI tool comes out. Okay, try it. Do something. See what happens. Oh, the song thing. I did a song. I didn't post it, but like when Ujo came out, I did it even before Ain, but then they posted it because they have a different brand, right? It was cool. So try things. That it's okay, especially when you're small. When you go bigger, it's a little bit. There's more implications. There's mode. I have to be careful. But no, but like it's real. Keep consistency. Like talk the same way. Find your voice. I know it does seem weird to you guys that I'm saying that, but like people have to recognize you when you talk. When you start a post by Ayin, you understand immediately it's Ayin, right? Just saying, right? Like so it's a different voice. It's a voice. A voice is valuable. You need one. Listen inwards. Like the communication is with yourself, with your community, with your team. It's not just outwards, right? Like you talk to the people who already know you at the same time as the people who don't know you yet. So you have to be careful about always keeping that in mind. So sometimes if you don't explain what you're talking about, the people from the inside, they will understand. But the people from the outside, they have no way of engaging. So sometimes it's as simple as adding a single sentence. So we have a new feature. It's in the wallet that you can find here. That kind of little stuff. And then make it easier for others to do your work. Like if you provide accurate, fresh content, then it's easier, for example, for the guys from the DAO or the community mods to answer questions. Like we saw a lot of questions coming at the bridge when we got the bridge out, right? Like, oh, the VAA doesn't work like this or whatever. So at the end of the day, we took all the most common questions and we made an FAQ, and that makes everyone's life easier. And finally, everything is a story, right? Everything is a story. Like, you can always tell a story. Like, there's a story about how Cheng was studying this and it became that, and the story of here, of Athens, of the meetup. You can always tell a story from everything you want to talk about. And it's a pain, but it's also a pleasure. So I encourage you to do a lot of this. I'm always accessible on Discord. I'm ZP 99999. So if you need help, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer. And thank you for listening to me. I was a bit longer than I expected.